And hello everyone, welcome back to another sort of devlog-ish video. So this time we're going to be talking about my background music player I've made. Because to give you a little bit of backstory, I used to have a pretty crappy laptop when I first got into programming and stuff. And the problem was I couldn't do two things at the same time. It was just too slow. So if I wanted to work and listen to music, I had to play music from my phone because my PC could barely handle working on its own. So I decided this isn't going to work. I really want to listen to music from my PC just because it's going to be 20 times more comfortable. So I created a background music player to play music from YouTube because that's generally what I wanted to play because it takes so much resources I couldn't. But plays music from YouTube in the background for me. And it takes a ton less resources than actually loading up a video. For example, let's actually go here to YouTube. Let's open up HTOP here to see how our resources is going. And I'm currently using 2.88. If I go to mixes, and let's say I play this one right here. So it's 2.88, and now it shoots up all the way to 2.94 with the CPU usage also going crazy. Now generally, if you have a pretty decent PC like I currently have right now, you don't experience any issues with this. In fact, it starts using less once it plays in the background. But that's still an issue if you have a pretty low-end PC, like my little laptop I had. So I created something that uses 20 times less, maybe more. So we go HTOP here, and let me show you an example of how it works. And we go here, and I say YT player, and I start playing music. You won't hear anything because I don't record the music I play on my PC. But as you'll notice, barely no change. It's playing music right now, but you don't really hear a thing, or you don't see a thing change here. And that is the goal. That was the goal all along, to make something that barely uses any resources to do something else. And it played from YouTube. This is the I think that's the video it played. Sometimes it also blurts out the playlist. But yeah, that's the video. And as simple as that. Now, that's just a basic example. Let me actually go through the whole thing so you can kind of see what we're working with before we go through the code and I tell you how to install it and whatnot. So it's just YT player. You can use it like this and you can play like a playlist or 2 or 3 playlists, however many numbers you put in here. You can also say if it should be shuffled, if it should be randomized. So if you have multiple playlists, you can do this and it will randomly choose a playlist to play. Or if it should be in a loop. So -is, -l, -r, or even -srl, you know, all of those good stuff. You can also see what playlists you have by saying --list, and boom, there you go, there's my list. I usually play my streaming music from this when I stream as well. You can also get a more user-friendly interface by just doing this, and now it'll throw you this. So now I can play music, you can add a playlist, edit a playlist, remove a playlist, get some help, whatnot. And in here, of course, you can play, and it will ask you, do you want to shuffle? Let's say yes. Do you want to loop? Let's say no. I said B. I don't know what the default is. I think the default is no. No, the default is probably true because I didn't say anything. Anyhow, I should probably fix that. But that's something for a different video. Okay, but that's the basic idea behind the program. Cool. So now that we know what we're working with, let's actually take a look at the code. Now, I have 2 versions here. I have the NIM version and then the C++ version. The C++ version is not getting developed anymore, so it doesn't get updates. You know, it's just here. You can fork it if you want, but as you can see, it's really like 24 commits behind. But there is a C++ version if you're interested, and you can go look for it. But I currently have mine built in NIM because I find NIM like the best of both worlds. You get Python, but you get type support as well. So yeah, I like NIM. Let me show you a little bit through the code. So it's a basic structure. We have our Nimble file, which will install it and whatnot. And then we have our README, and very simple. And here we have our main file. So this will just handle getting the basic input to start the application. So here it gives you all that you can do if you want to see the menu. And here it gets the parameters. And also here is where you can see the flags. So this dispatch right here. Pretty simple. This right here is the player. It plays the music. So as you can see here, play playlists. So it will play a bunch of playlists for you. And here, if you scroll down, add a playlist. So this handles all the playlist things. It's pretty simple. Most of these are literally copy paste code of tiny little modifications in them. Very simple. And then you have the utils file, which let's say you want to change what it uses to play from YouTube, because we use YTDLP. You could use YTDLC or YTDL. You can just change it here, and then boom, Bob's your uncle, you're using a different one. So if YTDLP ever stops working and there's a fork of it that is working, you can just change it here. And yeah, as simple as that. Then we have like our critical errors or show messages. In terms of code, there's not a lot to show because it's very basic. It just has a lot of code in it because, you know, I put a lot of conditions in. Anyhow, so very basic, very easy, whatnot. So the code isn't that great. You know, we can kind of skip most of it. We can actually go through the README and see how we can install it and stuff. So the README is pretty much written. It's very easy to follow along with. If you go here, as you can see, it is in the AUR. So you can use Paru, Yay, whatever other things you use to go to the AUR. I like to use Paru. If you go -SS, you say YTBGM player. Then here we go. This here is the one I'm shipping. So this will be like the latest version. Generally the latest released version. So if we have a released here, then it will kind of pop up here as well. This one might be a little bit newer. So as you can see, 1.2.11 is here, whilst 1.2.10 is here. So this one will be a little bit newer, whilst this one will be a bit more stable. It's up to you which you choose. You can also get it from source by, let's say if you have it, you just say nimble install, and that will install it for you from source. This right here does it for you automatically as well. So you don't, it basically clones, it does all the cloning and stuff for you. So if you have Arch, you could just do this. Otherwise you can git clone and then just nimble install here. Then running it, we have already seen how that works. And let's say you want to compile it yourself, because that is an option. First, you'll need nim and nimble. These are basically the two things we use. Nimble is kind of to build and run it, whilst nim is the programming language we use with it. So we use nim to code it. And then those are only for compiling. If you want to actually use this, you have two required dependencies. The first one is the latest version of MPV. So if you're on Debian or Ubuntu, you might need to add this repository here, because you will not have the latest version. This will give you the latest version. So you do need MPV, and this is kind of the reason why it doesn't work on Windows yet. So it works on Linux and Mac, probably Mac, but it doesn't work on Windows yet. I'm trying to fix this, and I'll show you why it doesn't work on Windows. Because if we go here and we just go to player, maybe scroll up a little bit, then right here. So this little bit of code here, it's what's causing it to only be working on Linux and probably Mac. It's because we're executing like legitimate shell code. This is never recommended. Never, ever, ever, ever. But this was an easy workaround just to get it to work out of the box. I've looked at a few ways we can change this, like using a different library instead of MPV that easily integrates. But then I thought that's not going to be too much effort. And then I decided, okay, I'm just going to fork this nim MPV here, and I'm going to update it and just tweak it a little bit so it works here. So then it will probably work on Windows, Linux, and Mac. However, we'll have to wait and see for that. I'm still working on that. That is one of my next things I want to do, is create support for it. But yeah, that is one issue. So it doesn't work on Windows yet, which is pretty sad, but I'm working on that. And then you need YTDLP. This doesn't matter that much. You can get YTDLC, YTDL, whichever you prefer, because as I said before, you can just go to utils and just change it here if you ever want to switch it out. So it currently it's just DLP, but you could change it to something else. So compiling it is pretty easy, and it's just nimble build -d release. So if we go here, we can actually try it out. We just go here, we paste, we run. Now building might take a little while, but generally it is pretty fast, so you never have to really worry about building. And now if we list it out, we have our YT BGM player. Now you could either / and then YT BGM player, that works, or you can go nimble run. I think nimble run will just kind of build it again and start over. It's up to you which you prefer. But yeah, generally nimble run can just to run it. You don't need to necessarily build it, whatnot, or you need to build it, but you don't need an executable. Anyhow, simple as that. Building it yourself is pretty easy. So cool, that is the basics of the whole background music player. It just plays music from YouTube in the background without taking up all of the resources, which was the initial idea. I didn't want it to use like even 100 megs was a little much. So I tried to keep it under 300 as much as possible because my laptop was really bad and my CPU usage should be super low as well. And believe me, this did really help. Now, if you're interested in this, you can come and get it on GitHub. You can just maybe store it, fork it if you want to edit it, whatnot. You leave an issue if you find an issue or you want a feature, whatnot. That will work. You can get a release here if you want, or you can just install it yourself. But yeah, so next up, what I want to try and do for this, because it's pretty darn cool and I really want to continue working on this, is currently I'm trying to do the man page. So when you go man YT BGM player, you will actually get a man page and it will tell you how it works and whatnot. But man pages is kind of a massive pain to write because it uses trough or something like that, and it's just a piece of crap, to be honest. But I am working on that. At some point that will be done as well. Then I want to use the MPV library that should actually be in progress. So I want to use this instead of calling it directly, but it requires a little bit of effort on my part because I need to implement it and then I need to be able to control it with a keyboard. And turns out, if you want to control something with a keyboard in your terminal, it is operating system based. So I can't just use one thing to just do it. You have to like use different libraries depending on the operating system, which is bullcrap. I can't believe someone hasn't already thought of that. Then what I want is, let's say I go YT BGM player 2. Let's say I want to start over this playlist. I want to press R and that should start over. This can happen once this is implemented, because this will need us to anyways control it from the keyboard. So in that case, I can just make R instead of realigning the subs like I just tried to do, because there's no subs, there's no video. It always removes the video. But the idea is that if you press R, it starts over instead of trying to align the subs. And then I want to implement instant playlist with names. So instead of going YT BGM player 2, I could go stream music instead. That might be easier to remember, but that's going to be a little bit difficult to implement because of how everything is currently built. There's a lot of other things like backup and restore, add a setting space so you can kind of customize it a bit more. A few extra flags I want to add, online backup and restore, but I'll do this when I have like a little bit of extra pocket money that I can just throw in here. And then create a GUI and add Windows support. This is kind of important for me because I want to extend this out to people who have Windows. I want them to be able to use it as well, because Windows is actually worse than Linux when it comes to performance. So it makes sense for someone that has a really bad laptop to use this. But I'm pretty sure this currently does work on WSL, but WSL probably uses a bunch of resources on its own. But yeah, we'll get to that when we get to that. And then I also want to create a GUI at some point. My only issue is that Nim has no good GUI libraries, which absolutely sucks. I don't know, bro, what's going on. So I kind of tried to use Nim with Flutter, but that kind of doesn't work out because you have to take mem, compile it to C++, which is easy enough. But then you have to somehow connect that C++ to Flutter, and that is a massive pain in the butt. But yeah, we'll get to that when we get to that. So there's a bunch of things we want to do, but the idea is there. You know, we have a music player that should be able to play things from YouTube without taking up all of the resources just to play something. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all again in the next video.